So I just want to explain something. Just going back to my organizational psychology days. For those of you who don't know, I am actually in real life an organizational psychologist. I've been practicing organizational psychology since 2012. I do still some work in secret. Sometimes there are only certain things I can do without getting canceled, but I do them. I just don't talk about them all that much. And what that means is that I've worked with a lot of businesses, helping them work through different types of business scenarios that involve how their staff feel and how their staff are doing and are their staff as productive as they could be and all that good stuff. Well, interesting thing happens every year around the holidays. Every year in the month of December specifically, a lot of organizations fire a lot of people. And I'm not just talking about seasonal staff here. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking, although that certainly is true. Obviously, if you get hired for the holiday season, your employment is particularly contingent. You're usually contingent on the holiday season, right? So that's a very good reason to let someone go. But what employers do is they backdoor that thing and they use it as a reason to fire every other, even remotely undesirable employee because they want to start the team fresh in January with the new year, with the new team that they're going to have moving forward. And so an awful lot of people get fired in December. Now, what does that have to do with this? Well, check this out. This article came out yesterday. Business groups ask White House to delay Biden COVID vaccine mandate until after the holidays. Huh. Well, isn't that a coincidence? Isn't that a coincidence that business groups just now are saying, whoa, 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 whoa. We're not ready to fire everyone who's not complying with this vaccine mandate. Yeah, can we just wait till after the holidays? Now, certainly there is something, and we're going to take a look at this article, but there is something to be said for the fact that organizations do legitimately need seasonal holiday staff. And I'm going to bet this year is going to be pretty tough on hiring that seasonal holiday staff, which is probably why they really want to delay the vaccine mandate until after the holidays. But I also can't help but think that it's a little bit more than just coincidence that all of a sudden they've asked for this vaccine mandate just to be delayed until the time of year when they are usually firing a metric F ton of employees anyway. What I think is going on is, again, not that the seasonal holiday staff thing isn't true, because it is. But what I think is going on is employers are are realizing that firing a lot of people's favorite employees as a result of the vaccine mandate is going to be really disruptive. And so, what they're going to try to do is to just group this all together with the annual holiday firing that they would do anyway, so that the team can move through it as quickly as possible. They're all gonna go on Christmas break and New Year's break and maybe take that week off in between. They're all gonna go. They're gonna forget that their coworkers were ever there in the first place by the time they come back in January to start fresh. That's what they're doing. Mark my words, that is at least part of the motivation behind this. Let's read this article. This is from CNBC. Worried that Joe Biden's COVID vaccine mandate for private companies could cause a mass exodus of employees, business groups are pleading with the White House to delay the rule until after the holiday season. White House officials at the Office of Management and Budget held dozens of meetings with labor unions, industry lobbyists, and private individuals last week as the administration conducts private individuals, by the way. If the White House is meeting with like a private individual, that's going to be a really mother effing rich CEO of some sort, of some major organization. If the White House is taking a private meeting with them, that's what that means. Private individuals last week as the administration conducts its final review of the mandate, which will require businesses with 100 or more employees to ensure they are vaccinated against COVID or tested weekly for the virus. It is estimated that will cover roughly 2/3 of the private sector workforce. OMB officials have several meetings lined up on Monday and Tuesday with groups representing dentists, trucking companies, staffing companies, and realtors, among others. The American Trucking Association, which will meet with the OMB on Tuesday, warned the administration last week that many drivers will likely quit rather than get vaccinated, further disrupting the national supply chain at a time when the industry is already short 80,000 drivers. Now, fun fact, I heard from a couple members of my locals community that there's talk of requiring vaccination in order to get a CDL license, which is the license you need to drive the really big truck. That doesn't seem like it could possibly go wrong. And listen, as we all know, because I told you guys about it last week, I'm vaccinated. I don't see any problem with getting vaccinated as long as you make the choice to get vaccinated. I'm not speaking about the efficacy of the vaccine. You should refer to the CDC with all your vaccine related questions. I am merely talking about strategy. I'm merely talking about the reality of the fact that if you require a group that I'm going to guess does not have propensity to go down this particular mandate track, if you require them to get vaccinated in order to get a license to drive a truck, when we're already 80,000 truck drivers short around the holidays, can we all see how this is going to play out? So that's part of the reason why they're asking for these mandates to be delayed. Blah, blah, blah. Retailers are also particularly concerned the mandate could trigger a spike in resignations that would exacerbate staffing problems at businesses already short on people. It's been a hectic holiday season already, as you know, with the supply chain struggles. Of course, according to the White House, the only reason we have supply chain struggles is because people are buying so much stuff. It's the only reason. Mm-hmm. This is a difficult policy to implement. It would be even more difficult during the holiday season. 30% of unvaccinated workers said they would leave their jobs rather than comply with a vaccine or testing mandate. Don't do that. Don't do that. The reason I say that is that you need to wait for them to fire you. Wait for them to fire you. Do not quit your jobs over the vaccine. You have to, or you don't have to do anything, I suppose. But what you should do is wait for them to fire you. If you don't wait for them to fire you, you are completely cutting out any chance that you have of unemployment insurance. Now, if they fire you, and there's been a lot of people on TV saying this, and of course, we're going to have people in the comments saying that too, they're going to say that, Carlin, if you get terminated because you refuse to take the vaccine, you will not be eligible for unemployment. Well, that's not necessarily true because the employer has to list that as the cause of your employment. Now, what smart employers are doing, and this is particularly true in the state of California, the state of California has weird labor laws that are extremely employee friendly. So this is particularly true in California, but it's going to be true in other states too. What smart employers are doing is not specifically citing the vaccine as a reason for termination. They're not terminating for cause. They're using at-will employment. At-will employment basically says you can be fired from a job at any time for any reason or for no reason at all. The vast majority of employees in the United States are at-will employees. That means the vast majority of you can be fired at any time for any reason or for no reason at all. And that is going to be what a lot of employers cite as the reason for termination. And mark my words, I don't have data on this for sure, but I've heard enough anecdotal evidence, and this is just the smart thing to do because there are going to be lawsuits around this vaccine. Mark my words. There are going to be lawsuits around this vaccine. And you know what can't happen if an employer fires you for at-will employment rather than firing you for vaccine-related issues? You can't sue them for it. If your employer fires you for, and they state the reason in the official documentation that it was like there wasn't enough work for you or you are an at-will employee, then you can file for unemployment. That's how that works, guys. Just because they can do something doesn't mean they will. Just because they can say they fired you for the vaccine, it doesn't mean it's in the best interest of the employer to do so. What is in the best interest of the employer to do so is to fire you for at-will reasons, however they want to state that in the letter. And that way you can't come back and sue them later. Because they are allowed under at-will employment to fire you at any time for any reason at all. So that's why you don't quit. You wait to get fired, you get documentation about why you were fired, and then you've got a much better chance of being able to fight the fight for unemployment insurance than if you quit your job, which you can't get unemployment if you quit your job. Anyway, let's go back to this. 3 in 10 unvaccinated workers say they would leave the job, blah, blah, blah. We already saw that. The Business Roundtable told CNBC it supports the White House vaccination efforts, but the administration should allow time necessary for employers to comply. And that includes taking into account employee retention issues, supply chain challenges, and the upcoming holiday season. The National Association of Manufacturers, in a letter to the OMB and OSHA, head James Frederick last Monday asked the administrations to exempt businesses from the requirement if they've already implemented mandates, blah, blah, blah. All right. So the bottom line here is that I want you all to be aware that businesses are asking the Biden administration to do this. And I think it's not just about getting through the holiday staffing shortages. I think it's so that, frankly, they can fire a whole bunch more people and just do it in one fell swoop so that they can start fresh in January, and it'll be like everyone that is still at the company just forgot about everyone else, because that's kind of like what happens when people get fired. Even if you have really good this is not something people want to hear, but even if you have like really good friends and contacts in your organization and you get fired, they forget about you in like a week. Even if you're like really tight. I once worked with my best friend. This woman was my best friend for years. I got her a job at the place that oh, my hair is crazy today. I got her a job at the place that I was working at. I actually rescued her because she actually got fired from her job, and I got her this new job at a company I was working at. And about a year and a half later, I got fired from the company that which they never gave me a reason for. By the way, what I'm telling you, like that I know that people can get fired for no reason. I got fired from this job for literally no reason. They have no I may still have issues around not understanding why I was fired from this job, because I really don't. I have no idea what caused it other than possibly the CEO was a crazy person. Anyway, but I've actually been fired for the Atwill reason, so I understand that. But I got my best friend a job, and everything was going great until I got fired, and then like a week and a half later, she stopped talking to me entirely. And I swear those two things aren't related. I'm gonna have trolls saying, "Oh, well, obviously you were a horrible person, Carly." Blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. It really wasn't related. We were cool up until the time, even after, like right after I got fired, like we were still talking, and she's like, "This sucks," like whatever. And up until the time that I signed an agreement. After I signed that agreement, I barely heard from her again. And so I tell you this because it's like what employers are trying to do is they're trying to minimize disruption. So what they're going to do is they're going to throw all of the firings into one fell swoop. Now, here's the thing. Do not trust your HR department. Do not trust your HR department. Do not trust anyone in HR. I don't care if they're really good people. I don't care if they're really nice. I don't care if they have candy on their desk. Do not trust human resources, because the job of human resources is always and will forever be to cover the backside of the organization. It is not to help you, the employee. It is to cover the backside of the organization. So this is a time, just make assumptions, honestly. And I listen, of course, there are going to be people who work in places that don't fire anyone. That's true. That's objectively true. And that's awesome. If you're in one of those positions, that is awesome. But I want everyone to be prepared for the fact that there will be organizations who are using this entire affair to cull their staff. They will absolutely do this. So just pay attention. Don't trust human resources. Do not listen to them when they tell you, oh, no, we're not doing that. We would never do that. Our employees are like a family. Watch their actions. Don't watch their words. And how they treat their employees over the holidays will tell you an awful lot about how they're going to treat you. Over the last year and a half, our society has become increasingly dehumanized. We don't see each other as people anymore. I don't even know what we see each other as. But I can tell you that your employers are going to have no gumption about firing you over the holidays at all because they do it every single year. Every year. This is not a pandemic related thing. They do this every year. They don't just do it to seasonal staff, they do it to everyone. They want to get rid of all the undesirables rather, all at once. So just be aware of it. Now's the time to spiff up that resume. Now's the time to start sending it out there. Just look and see what's available for jobs. One of the advantages of this time is that a lot of people have the ability to now work remotely where you didn't have that ability to before. So geography isn't necessarily going to be an issue. But just be aware, pay attention, look out for number one first. Because I've worked with a lot of people who've gotten fired over the holidays. And a lot of them don't see it coming. And that makes it harder. And if it ends up happening to you, I'm really sorry. I've been in your shoes. I know how much it sucks. But keep your head up. And if you do the prep work now, if you get everything ready to go now, if you start applying to jobs from now, just in case, remember, if someone offers you a job, that doesn't mean you have to take the job. It just means they offered you the job. You can turn it down, you can say no, but at least you have something. And that's what you're going to want if you sadly end up in this position. All right, guys, that's really all I wanted to talk about in this video. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. I try to do content almost every single day of the week, mostly around social justice and critical race theory and woke nonsense and stuff like that. But every once in a while, I do like to put my PhD to good use and give you guys some highly practical information. I hope you'll consider subscribing. If you think you're subscribed, just double check for me. If you're subscribed to, please turn on notifications. I'd really like to get my number of subscribers with notifications turned on up because YouTube isn't serving my content otherwise. Please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you share it out with your friends and family. And if you really want to help me out, make sure you join us in Locals. I've got it in the ticker down below, kb.locals.com. I actually have a Zoom call later today in about an hour and a half with my locals. On Thursday, Benjamin Boyce is joining my locals Zoom. So all the information will be in Locals. Hope to see you guys there. That's all I've got for right now. I'll see you soon.